Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. Before that, subscribe the channel, give your comments, like and share the video. 29th, 29th August, Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. A professional boxing fight that will happen in a few days. Well, I talked about Jake Paul before because of his boxing fight against Ben Askren and because of the brawl between him and Floyd Mayweather in the press conference of the fight of his brother Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. So Tyron Woodley, who is Tyron Woodley? Well, Tyron Woodley is a retired MMA fighter, so a mixed martial arts fighter. He is a former world champion. He was the UFC welterweight world champion between 2016 and 2019, and he had 4 successful title defenses. But he lost the title to Kamaru Usman 2 years ago. And well, Kamaru Usman, I talked about him before, his fights against George Masvidal. So Kamaru Usman won the title from Tyron Woodley, and he is still the UFC World Welterweight Champion. Well, Kamaru Usman had also 4 successful title defenses against two of them against George Masvidal. Then I talked about it before in other videos. And now he's going to fight Colby Covington. And let's see if he's going to retain the title, or maybe he can lose the title to Colby Covington. So Tyron Woodley is 39. He's 39 years old. Well, he's a retired MMA fighter. He's a former UFC World Welterweight Champion. But his moment, well, the recent years, well, it's not a good moment. Why? Because Tyron Woodley lost the last 4. The last 4 MMA fights Tyron Woodley lost. So it's not a good sequence. It's not a good streak. But Jake Paul, it's different. Jake Paul won the first and the last 3 fights he had in professional boxing. Of course, we are talking about different sports. One thing is boxing, other thing is mixed martial arts, of course. But in professional boxing, and we're talking about a boxing fight, talking about a professional boxing fight between Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. Jake Paul, well, 3 wins with 3 KOs, with 3 knockouts. It's a fact. No losses. But Jake Paul fought with Ben Askren, Nate Robinson, and Anson Jeep. So we are talking about 3 athletes that they are not boxers, real boxers, Ben Askren is a former MMA fighter in UFC, that's a fact. But, well, Ben Askren was very good, and he is very good, of course. still is very good in wrestling. So fighting the ground, wrestling. But he was not a good boxer. He was not a good striker. Nate Robinson, well, we're talking about a basketball player. Basketball player. He really doesn't know the boxing world. And Isunjib, yeah. So we are talking about three athletes that are not a real boxers. So Tyron Woodley is different. Tyron Woodley knows how to punch, and it will be the toughest opponent of Jake Paul's career until now, of course. Jake Paul is going to test himself against a veteran, a former UFC World Welterweight Champion, and a better boxer than Ben Askren. Better boxer than Ben Askren, that's for sure. But let's talk about the moment, okay? So Jake Paul is younger than Tyron Woodley. Jake Paul is 24. Jake Paul is 24 years old. Tyron Woodley is 39 years old. So we have here big difference. So Jake Paul is younger. Well, that's an advantage. Jake Paul is bigger. Jake Paul is bigger than Tyron Woodley. So size here. Advantage, Jake Paul. The reach, of course, Jake Paul has more reach, okay? More reach than Tyron Woodley because of his size, because he's bigger than Tyron Woodley. And, well, in the odds, Jake Paul is the favorite and Tyron Woodley is the underdog. This causes a lot of controversy in the fight world because, well, Jake Paul is a YouTuber, a very famous YouTuber, a very rich man. That's a fact. And he started as a professional boxer 1 year and a half ago, I think, or 2 years at best. So he's starting a professional boxing career, and, well, 3 wins, no losses. It's positive, of course. Tyron Woodley, well, Tyron Woodley had 27 fights, 19 wins, 1 draw, and 7 losses. And 7 of the 19 wins by knockout. So we're talking about a good career. Tyron Woodley, a good career in mixed martial arts, and he's a former UFC World Welterweight Champion. But he lost the last 4. He lost the last 4 MMA fights. So it's not a good streak. So, advantage, Jake Paul. So I can understand the odds. So people are betting in Jake Paul to win this fight, and I can understand that because Jake Paul is younger, Jake Paul is bigger, Jake Paul more rich, Jake Paul knows how to punch, and he wants very much. Jake Paul wants very much to show what he's capable of. He wants to show. He wants to show that he can box. He can beat credible guys, And, well, Tyron Woodley will be his toughest opponent because of what I said before. And Tyron Woodley, well, Tyron Woodley, of course, accepted this fight because he wants he wants Jake Paul to shut up, and of course he will have a good paycheck. Of course, that's for sure. And Tyron Woodley, well, wants to fight Jake Paul and to win, but Jake Paul had some advantages that can be crucial at the end of the fight. So younger, Jake Paul is younger, bigger, more rich, and his will, because Jake Paul wants a lot to win this boxing fight. He wants a lot. I'm not saying that Tyron Woodley doesn't want to win this fight. I'm not telling this. Of course, Tyron Woodley wants to win this fight, but maybe Jake Paul wants more to win this fight, and that can be the difference maker, that can be the difference maker, because of course Tyron Woodley has the experience, yes, for sure. We're talking about the former world champion in mixed martial arts, okay? So he's in the fight business, well, for many years. But this is all about the moment, and the moment is positive to Jake Paul, and it's not so positive to Tyron Woodley. Let's be honest, okay? The last 4 fights he had in MMA, he lost, so it's not a positive moment for Tyron Woodley. So I can understand that Jake Paul is the favorite, but of course there are a lot of MMA fighters that are saying, how can this be possible? Because, well, of the difference of experience and all that stuff, But it is what it is. It is what it is. And we're going to see. We're going to see 29th August, Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley, professional boxing fight. So maybe Jake Paul can continue to win, or Tyron Woodley maybe would shut up Jake Paul. We're going to see. Well, that's it. This is all for today, and see you next time.